Welcome. This workshop is being recorded. So if you miss any part of it, email me if you need the recording of this session. It's great to see everyone here tonight. Let me introduce the program that this workshop's been funded from. The series of the workshops is been funded through the TAP program, Teacher Accelerated Preparation Program. The goal of the program is to increase the number of teachers in the Antelope Valley and to support current teachers. My name is Jane Bowers. I'm the director of the program, and I'm thrilled to be here with you. Today's workshop is taught by my colleague. I'm a math teacher also. I lead the teacher preparation program and I teach math classes. And today's workshop is facilitated by Lisa Shibazian. She's a professor of English in Antelope Valley College and also a high school teacher. I will let Lisa to introduce herself.
Hey, hi everyone, welcome. We are hoping we're not going to have any technical difficulties tonight, but if we do, please feel free to email either Jane or myself. We're both going to put our emails into the chat box so you have it just in case you lose us. I have a PowerPoint that goes along with tonight. As Jane mentioned, this will be recorded. We're not trying to infringe on your privacy in any way. We're just doing this so we have recordings of what we said in the workshops and what we covered so we can keep track, okay? Does anyone have any questions before we get started tonight? You can chat or put it in the chat, or you can speak. You can speak at any time too, by the way. I'm not one of those presenters who's like, you will be silenced until I let you speak. You also can raise your hand. There's a raise your hand function at the bottom of Zoom meetings for those of you who haven't used Zoom before. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. This is reading and writing prep for the California Basic Educational Skills Test. I know Jane had all of you introduce yourselves and talk about why you wanted to be a teacher, what grade level you might want to teach. So just really quickly, my name is Lisa Shibazian. I am an adjunct instructor in English at ABC, and I'm also a high school teacher, English 11 and creative writing for the high school district. I teach at Desert Winds High School. This is my 23rd year of teaching. So in 2002, I too had to take the CBEST, and I too was deeply concerned. And then when I took it, even though I had an English background, I actually did better on the math, which was shocking. So what I'm saying is, no matter how much you prepare for the test, no matter how much anxiety you have, it will work out. It will work out. My husband took it 2 or 3 times, not because he's not a smart guy. He just has test anxiety. And so if that happens to you, know that you can take it more than once and you will pass it. If you want to be a teacher, you will eventually pass it. All right, so let's go to the next slide, Jane. This is fun. It's like I have my own personal assistant tonight. I like this. Okay, so this is what we did in the chat. I just want you to know that you are picking the absolute best career in the world to go into, whether you teach elementary, high school, you end up teaching college. There is no day that's exactly the same. It's super fun. And when you make that connection with somebody, a student, and they love what you're teaching, or they finally get something, there's nothing like that in any other career in the world. So you have made a brilliant choice to become a teacher as far as I'm concerned. So what are we doing today? This is just a basic outline of what I'm planning to cover tonight and the order of how I'm going to cover this. We're going to go through some general CBEST information. We're going to go over test taking tips and strategies. That is my specialty. And the writing section, which is also my specialty, we'll discuss the 2 types of essays that you have to write. And don't be afraid of these essays, because once you know the basic format of what you need to do, you could write about anything. And I'm going to teach you that tonight. And then the reading section, which is reading comprehension and then answering some questions. And then any last minute questions or concerns that you guys have at the end, we will answer those questions as well.
Lisa, before we move on, there was a question. Okay. Am I correct that when taking online tests, we can take the tests one at a time? And
yes.
So the option where you can take all 3 parts not available anymore?
No, you can. Okay, so the test is 4 hours total. You can take all 3 sections in that 4 hours, or you can walk in and just take the reading and the writing, which is, you know, an hour and a half for the writing. This is just the basic stuff. The CBEST is an exam that allows teacher candidates to demonstrate proficiency in basic reading, writing, and mathematics skills. In California, you must pass the CBEST if the following applies to you. You are applying for a first teaching credential or services credential. You are applying for the issuance or renewal of an emergency permit, such as a 30-day substitute teaching permit, provisional internship permit, or short-term staff permit, or you are applying for admission to a CTC accredited teacher preparation or services credential program. We are so desperate for substitute teachers in California right now. They have allowed teachers to start teaching without the CBEST, but you only have 90 days to get your CBEST passed. So it's like an added pressure you don't need. So just pass the CBEST and then become a substitute or an actual full-time teacher if you want to. But if you really want to start making the money right now, then just call school districts and let them know you want to sub, and they'll tell you, okay, we'll hire you. You're fantastic, but you've got to pass the CBEST within 90 days. So just putting that out there for those of you who want to get started like now. The CBEST is divided into 3 different sections: a multiple choice reading section, a multiple choice math section, and a writing section, which contains 2 essays. As of April 2021, the Commission on Teacher Credentialing retired the paper-based option for the CBEST. You have the option to take the whole test at once, which I suggest everybody that sign up take the whole test the first time, okay? Because you'll be surprised. You'll pass most of it, or you may surprise yourself and pass all of it. And then that way, you know, okay, maybe I failed the math. All I have to retake is the math, right? So go into it, take the whole test, and then figure out, what do I still need to take over if you fail a section? That way you don't have to just keep going, oh, I have this section hanging over my head. You've already nailed a couple of them out of the way. Current testing options include computer-based tests administered at a test center. Like we said, AV Adult School in our town, those of you that are from the Antelope Valley, as well as online proctored tests, which you can take remotely at home. The cost and test results. So this, I think Jane went over all this, so I'm going to just breeze through this real quick. The CBEST exam usually costs $30 per section. However, until June 2023, it's free. You must register for each section separately. For those taking the site-based test, candidates taking the reading section or mathematics section will receive preliminary test results at the conclusion of their test center appointment. Candidates taking the writing section will receive a receipt of completion at the conclusion of their test center appointment. So test results are available within 2 weeks of testing. And for those taking the online proctored test, the candidates will receive the test results for all 3 sections within 2 weeks of testing. So that's another positive about taking the test at an actual remote center. You will get the mathematics and reading section results immediately when you leave, because it's computer generated and they just do it there for you. So for those of you who hate waiting for results, that's your best ticket, because you get those immediately. All right, let's break it down and look at the sections. So the reading section is presented first. It contains 50 multiple choice questions, which are broken down into 2 main categories: critical analysis and evaluation. Those are 20 questions, and that's 40% of the test. Comprehension and research skills, that's 30 questions, and that's 60% of the test. All reading questions are based on information presented in written passages, tables, and graphs. Written passages range from 100 to 200 words. So here is my big blanket statement for you so you can kind of calmly look at basically the sections of the test. Do not worry. No outside knowledge is required to answer multiple choice questions. All the correct answers can be found by interpreting the information presented in the passage, table, or graph. So in other words, they're not going to have you come in and ask you questions about the Boston Tea Party unless what they have you read is about the Boston Tea Party. Okay, I saw a question about what is a passing score. We'll get to that at the end of the PowerPoint. I have a whole breakdown of what's passing and what's not. Okay, the writing section, which scares most of you the most, I think, it includes 2 writing topics that will assess your ability to write effectively. You can expect to write 1 essay from each of the following areas. You're going to write an analysis of a situation or a statement and a personal experience. So this is what you really need to know, because every one of you in here is smart enough to take and pass this test. But there are little tricks of the trade, which I call test taking strategies, that will help you to do better on the test. Because no matter how smart you are, no matter how prepared you are, most of us as human beings, when we go into a test like this, we kind of have anxiety and we freak. And some people have really debilitating test anxiety. And if you can learn how to manage that, it will help you to be much more successful on this test. If you take all 3 nights of this workshop, and I promise Monday night, hopefully we'll have all the technology issues ironed out. At the end of the 3 workshops, you will get this beautiful book that I'm holding up on my screen. I know this is the archaic way to show you this, but it's an amazing book. It was just published recently. It has all the new up-to-date material. You can get this at the end of the 3 workshops. This is your #1 study guide. I mean, probably even as much as taking this workshop with Jane and I tonight, this book is an amazing guide. Also, the CBEST website has amazing practice tests and test taking tips. They are an amazing website to use. Complete the practice tests and the writing samples in your test prep book. Use your practice test results to guide your studying. Obviously, if you already know something, don't study that material, okay? If you know your entire life reading comprehension has been your strong point, don't focus on that. If you know that math is your weakness, then study the math. And if you know, hey, I choke every single time I write an essay, make yourself write practice essays. Familiarize yourself with the format so that you are comfortable and confident on test day. You should walk in there ideally relaxed, prepared, and ready to pass this test so you can become a teacher. You are allotted a specific length of time for each section. To make sure you have enough time, I suggest timing yourself when you take your practice test. The reading section is 50 multiple choice questions. You get 1 hour and 30 minutes. The writing section, you get 2 essays and you get 1 hour and 30 minutes. Because I'm the English reading CBEST person, I ignored the math, but you get an hour for the math, okay? So that's where that extra hour comes from. So that is a lot of pressure. 2 essays in an hour and 30 minutes, that means 45 minutes an essay. That is a lot of pressure. So I know those of you that have taken English classes, you know that teachers like me, we always go brainstorming, pre-writing, start writing. You don't really have time to do much brainstorming and pre-writing for this essay. So you got to do it quick and get to actually writing the essay. If you get to questions that are very difficult or all 4 answers look right to you, skip that question or skip those answers for a while and come back to it when you know, oh, sweet, I'm done with the test and I've got 8 minutes remaining. Then go back to that hard question. Don't sit there analyzing that one question to the point where you're jeopardizing the rest of your test, okay? So don't spend too much time on any one question. You don't want to run out of time. You are better off coming back to questions and moving on to questions that are easier to answer. Some tests contain an order of difficulty or increase in difficulty as you progress within each section. However, on the CBEST, there is no order of difficulty. Questions vary in difficulty throughout the exam, so don't get discouraged if you need to skip a question early on. So say you're 5 questions in and you go, oh my God, this question is so hard, I don't know. I'm going to just give up right now because they're only going to get harder. No, that's not how the CBEST is written. The questions vary in difficulty. They're kind of sprinkled throughout the test. So if it's a really hard question, just skip it and come back to it. Don't agonize over it and create like insecurity in yourself. Just go on to the next question. Cross off answers that you know are wrong or only partially answer the question. If you are not sure the correct answer, process of elimination will increase your chance of choosing a correct answer. So what I mean by that is if there are 4 answers to a question and they all look like, oh my God, these all could be right, do some thinking. Like, why would this one not be right? Why would this one be right? Why is this one absolutely wrong? Okay, and reread the question a couple times, because if you do that, you will eliminate some answers. Okay, the writing section. Now let's get some practicing in on this. Okay, remember you will be writing 2 essays in the writing section of the CBEST. One that asks you to analyze a situation or statement, and another that asks you to write about a personal experience. You will have 1 hour and 30 minutes to complete the 2 essays. Practice completing each essay within 45 minutes. All right. So when you do the practice test, set a timer for yourself and get in the habit of going, I've got to have this entire essay nailed down and written in 45 minutes. So if you are not a strong writer, set aside 5 minutes out of that 45 minutes to brainstorm that essay. Like, what are you going to put in those 5 paragraphs? Okay. And then, then start writing the essay. The good thing is, since this is computer generated, see, when I took it, that kidding, it was the early 2000s. You had to write this on actual paper. So say you forgot something, you had no options because you had it already written. Whereas you guys are doing this on computer. So when you reread it, you can go back and add sentences and things. So it's a real advantage to taking the test in 2023 versus 2001 or 2, whenever I took it. Oh my goodness. Okay, the essays, here we go. All right, so 2 graders, meaning 2 people read all these essays. And each essay is given a score of 1 to 4, and your essays will be evaluated according to the following criteria. Rhetorical force, the clarity at which your idea is stated and maintained. So what that means is, if it's asking you, the essay prompt is asking for your opinion, be strong in your opinion, okay? If it's saying, which is a better fruit, apples or oranges, don't say, I love apples and oranges. Don't be diplomatic. You have to have a strong opinion and stick with that strong opinion. Organization, the logical sequence of your ideas. What I mean by that is, don't write the essay and then say, oh yeah, I forgot to mention this, and then go back. Okay, make sure that your essay flows, it's in chronological order, your thoughts are all mapped out. Support and development. When you start a new paragraph, make sure that there are sentences in that paragraph to support the main idea. Have relevance, depth, and specificity of supporting information. Use care and precision in word choice. Structure and conventions. Look at your essay, reread it for errors. Syntax, make sure your words are in the right order. Make sure you have your sentences and paragraphs, and make sure you have your punctuation, ironed out. If it needs an exclamation point, put an exclamation point. If you're asking a question, use a question mark. And then appropriateness, address the topic and using language appropriate for the given audience and purpose. So let's look at a closer look of the scoring description on the next slide. Preparing for your issue or statement essay, we'll get to the scoring later. Create a successful essay, start by doing the following. Read the entire topic or question at least once. Make sure you understand what you are supposed to write about. Take a stand. Are you for or against the issue? Support your claim. Record at least 3 to 5 examples that support your claim. rank your supporting work, excuse me, choose the best 3 or 4 examples, compose your essay using the template format. We will refer to the example on page 204 of the book when we get to writing a practice essay in the second session, and review your essay upon completion. One of the things that I didn't put in this PowerPoint, but I swear by it, I tell my college students and my high school students this: when your essay is done, read it in your head. Does it flow? Are you tripping over words and have no idea what you're saying? Because if so, that's the same thing what the person that's grading it is going to do. So make sure that it flows for you and it makes sense, and you can read it just like you're having a conversation, because that way, you know, oh, my essay is flowing, it's good to go, and I can turn this in and not have to worry about getting dinged on the fact that it's not flowing, it's not making sense, or whatever else could possibly happen. So here is a sample template of an essay that you could get, okay? Let me just warn you guys in advance, these essay topics are not always the most exciting, but they do show the CBEST committee how you write, okay? So, you know, it's not going to be, you have $5,000 to plan a party. That would be fun to write about, right? This is not it. The essays are not that level of excitement. So you have to make them exciting with your words. So the school board at High School X is considering raising the number of years of required physical education classes. The board will be voting on a proposal to raise the number of years that students need to take physical education from 1 year to 3 years. Do you think that the school board should increase the physical education requirement to 3 years? Support your claim with specific examples. Easy enough, right? You pick a stand on the issue, and then you basically have to decide, you know, how do I support that claim? What is the evidence that I'm going to provide? All right. In the break, I looked up the answer. I said 6 weeks between tests. It's 45 calendar days. So if you fail a section, you have to wait 45 calendar days to make it, almost 6 weeks. If we thought about this prompt, remember, the strongest thing that you can come up with is a definitive stance on the issue. Okay, so what I don't want, what the CBEST readers don't want, is for you to go, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, who cares? You know, whatever physical education. They want you to have a strong stance. They want you to say, the school board should unequivocally increase the physical education requirement to 3 years. And then you're going to spend the rest of that essay talking about why 3 years of PE is amazing for school-age children, okay? You know, you're going to talk about things like, you know, obesity, the fact that most Americans stop exercising when they get out of high school PE. You know, you're going to talk about all those reasons that would show why someone needs to take PE for 3 years. Or if you're on the other side of the issue and you don't think someone should take PE for 3 years, what are your reasons? That we shouldn't force people to exercise, that people shouldn't have to do what they don't want to do in our society, whatever you would think, okay? This is, I know most of you are like, what an awful topic. Yeah, but this is what the topics on the CBEST are going to look like. They're not always, like I said, something super fun to write about. It's very technical. They want you to form an opinion, and they want you to back up your opinion with evidence. After you have read the topic, taken a stand, supported your claim, and ranked your supporting work, begin composing your essay using the template format, which I have included in this PowerPoint. Remember, there is no side of an issue that is right or wrong. They just want to see that you've taken a side and that you're expressing what it is. So you just need to be able to take a stand and effectively support your position. Before beginning a template of your own or writing your essay, let's review a sample of what should be included in each paragraph. I just saw a question. Let's see, if we go to a building to take the exam, are we allowed to take an exam one at a time and go back for another day? Yes, you are allowed to take one section at a time and then go back another day within the same week, if it's the first time you've taken the test. If not, you're going to have to wait the 45 days. The CBEST essays, everybody, they want 5 paragraphs, okay? The typical 5-paragraph essay that you've been taught since high school. Paragraph 1, the introduction, paragraphs 2, 3, and 4, the body, paragraph 5 is the conclusion, right? So paragraph 1, the introduction, you are going to introduce, restate the issue. You're going to address the 2 sides of the issue and start with the other position, then state your position. You're going to state your thesis, which is where you form an opinion and decide what you're going to prove in the rest of that essay. A thesis sentence is the sentence that states your overall position on the issue and tells the readers what you are going to discuss. You're going to use your thesis to state your position and introduce the supporting reasons that you will use in the paragraphs to follow. Here is a sample first paragraph that uses the template. This is based on that prompt that I showed you, and this would be like what they would consider to be a stellar, 4-score paragraph. So if they said, the issue of increasing the required number of physical education classes in high school is a controversial one. Some believe that physical education classes are a crucial part of the high school experience, where students learn lessons of competition and cooperation. Others believe that physical education activities can be done after the school day in extracurricular activities, and that the increase in the number of required classes would take away from more traditional learning. After careful thought, I believe that the school board should increase the physical education requirement. So if you look at that paragraph, you see that whoever wrote it introduced and restated the issue, so we know what the topic is that they're addressing. They showed both sides of the issue, but then they clearly showed which one they support. And they did that by writing a strong thesis, which is the sentence that tells us in the first paragraph what that essay will be about. So think of it like when you have an argument with someone, you're supposed to validate their side of it, right? Like, I can see what you're saying, but here's my opinion. That's what you do in an essay of this type. You throw, kudos or attention at the other side of the issue, but then you also address the way you really feel. Let's look at the body paragraphs 2, 3, and 4. Okay, in paragraph 2, this is where you're going to support your claim. So you've taken a stand on one side of an issue. Now you have to support it. Before you begin really writing your essay, you're going to want to take some notes on scratch paper, like really quick. Remember, because I said no more than like 5 minutes on brainstorming, or you're going to run out of time. Come up with several examples and reasons to support your position. This is called brainstorming. Don't worry about the quality of the examples. Just make sure that you have examples. The goal in brainstorming is to come up with as many examples as possible. If you are having trouble coming up with reasons, don't panic. Reread the question and think about the people who would be affected by the issue being discussed. In the example above, who would be affected? Certainly, it would be the students who would face a new curriculum in school. The administrators, parents, and teachers would also have opinions on the issue. If you have a hard time brainstorming reasons, a lot of us are better at speaking than we are at writing. So picture this essay becoming like an actual verbal argument, and think of the things you would say to someone if you were having an argument. So you and your friend are at Starbucks. You're having this conversation about, should students take 1 or 3 years of PE? What are the things your friend would say? And then what would be the things that you responded? And the things that you respond with, those are the things that you should write down, because those are the reasons that go into your paper. Paragraphs 3 and 4 are your supporting paragraphs. And your goal is to make each example as precise and compelling as possible. So if you're going to talk about childhood obesity as a reason to offer 3 years of PE, you can't just say, well, childhood obesity is a reason. You have to explain, like, get graphic, get descriptive. Like, we've all seen that child that's overweight, They've got a soda in one hand and a Twinkie in another, and their mom doesn't realize that they're killing them with kindness with food, right? That's an example of childhood obesity. So then you say 3 years of PE would be amazing for American children because they tend to be eating too much and they tend to be inactive. So the more description, the more detail you give, the better you are at backing up your reasoning. After you have brainstormed and narrowed your list down to your best examples, spend a couple of moments on each one, describing them with as much detail as possible. Like I just said, try to add depth and clarity to your examples. Don't just throw statements out there. You have to throw the statements out there and then back them up is what I'm saying. Okay, paragraph 5, writing your conclusion. Remember, I know this sounds like common sense, but remember when you get to the conclusion, that is the last thing that the person that is grading your essay reads, right? I know, common sense, duh, thanks for your help, Lisa. That's really helpful, right? But think of it like this is your last chance to convince that reader of your paper that you are a strong writer and you know what you're talking about. Okay, so a conclusion paragraph needs to restate your central claim and leave the reader with a final point to consider. So at some point in this final paragraph, you're going to bring up one final reason that you haven't hit the reader with at all. So by the time they get to your conclusion, they go, oh my God, that final reason was the best one. This is a perfect 4 paper, right? This is a perfect 4 essay. Although there are some benefits to increasing physical education requirements, the proposal to do so should not be approved. After another sentence or two, leave the reader with the final sentence that states your opinion. Try to make this final sentence powerful, as it is the final thing your reader will see when evaluating your essay. While students may increase their physical fitness, are we willing to decrease their classroom experiences? All right, let's look at the template on the next slide, and this will show you how to use transitions. When you write paragraph 1, you want to start with something like the issue of, right? And then when you get to those further paragraphs, you're going to say things like, one reason for the belief is that. Another reason for this belief is in paragraph 3. The best reason for this belief is in paragraph 4, and paragraph 5 in the final analysis. What these sentence starters basically are, they're called transitions. And basically they just make sentences more glowing, less cumbersome, and more fun to read. My famous story to illustrate this point is my nephew, when he was about 11 over Christmas vacation, he said, will you read my paper on Abraham Lincoln? Auntie Lisa, I know you teach English. And I said, sure. So I look at this paper and it's like 2 pages. Every single sentence started with Abraham Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln. And so I taught him that if you want your teacher to remain sane and continue reading your papers, you've got to use transition because it breaks up the monotony of papers. And remember, you're not the only essay they're reading. They're reading hundreds, sometimes thousands of these on a weekend sometime. They're usually retired teachers or teachers that want to make extra money. And they're reading these essays over and over and over again. So your use of transitions and sentence variety makes your essay stand out more than like somebody like my nephew who used Abraham Lincoln to start every single sentence of his essay. The experience essay. This one is usually the easier of the two for people to write because who writes about our lives better than us, right? No one, because we've experienced that. So to create a successful essay, start by doing the following. Read the entire topic or question at least once. Make sure you understand what you are supposed to write about. Choose a topic. Develop your story. Be sure to communicate the details, importance, and impact that experience had on you. Before you begin to write your essay, be sure that your essay will understand, oops, I put 2 those in there, the background information necessary. Example, who, what, where, when. If you ask yourself those questions, who, what, where, when, and probably why, that means you're addressing everything you need to in the essay. Compose your essay using the template format if you prefer, and review your essay upon completion. So again, my best advice, always read the entire essay before you submit it, You know, are there spelling errors? Is it cumbersome? Are you tripping over words? If so, edit it a little bit more before you turn it in. So these are some possible outline templates. You know, think of it like paragraph one is your introduction and thesis. In paragraph 2, you're going to describe the event or describe the background info and the events leading up to your experience. You're going to describe the immediate effects of the event and describe the choice you felt you needed to make. So this is the way I have this slide organized, is like the left-hand side would be the argumentative paper, and then the right-hand slide would be your personal perspective. And then period 5 would, I keep saying period 5. I'm at school still, I guess. Paragraph 5 would be the conclusion. And I know a lot of you right now are like, oh, she's going over these essays really fast, and essays are where I need to really concentrate. On Monday night, the 23rd, when we meet again for part 2 out of 3, that is when we are going to do some really, you know, nail it to the wall essay writing. And I'm even going to give you guys the opportunity to send me your essays via email, and I will read them and give you feedback about whether this essay would be passing or not. Okay. I know I'm going over it fast and I'm doing a big overview tonight, but I will actually be looking at your writing if you want me to. If not, that's fine too. But, and I will give you some feedback on what you can do to make your essays better before you actually take the test. What makes a good personal experience essay? CBEST authors are looking for an essay that grabs their attention. Try to compose an essay that describes an important or symbolic moment in your life. When you describe your experience, keep in mind that I don't know why I'd put your reader does not have any background info about your event. Be sure to fully describe the characters and supporting information in your experience. What I mean by that is, basically what they'll ask you is describe an event in your life that changed you in a positive or negative way. Okay, so you're going to think back over your life from the day you were born until like the day you take the test and go, what is the one event that changed me, right? For a lot of us, it was losing a parent, or for some of us, it was meeting our spouses, right? It can be a positive or a negative thing, but whatever you write about, you have to tell all the detail of it, right? Not to the point where you're like, the day I met my husband, he was wearing this shirt and this, you know, like you don't have to get that detailed, but you have to know that the reader doesn't know anything about your husband or how you met, or, you know, the time your grandpa died. You have to give that background information in the essay. Don't ever assume that your reader knows something. You have to tell them that information. But usually this essay is the easier one to write because, like I said, personal experiences we can write about all day long. It's when we actually have to think and decide on an issue that we struggle. This is probably one of the most important slides in this entire PowerPoint because not that I want to focus on the negative, but these are the things you absolutely should avoid. Please, when you write your essay, do not say things like, in this essay, I will. We know we're reading the essay, right? We don't need you to tell us, in this essay, I will. We have the essay in our hands, so we know we're reading an essay. Don't say, I believe or I think. We already know we're reading your paper. We know this is how you believe or think, okay? So don't overuse I think or I believe. Sure, you can say it once. But again, back to my nephew's Abraham Lincoln paper, don't start every sentence with, I think, I think, I think. We get it. We know it's your essay. We know you're thinking. Big word syndrome. Is it great to use rigorous vocabulary, big words? Sure. Just make sure you know what they mean and you're using them accurately. Okay. Don't try and dazzle the reader by using super huge words that you don't know what they mean. Okay, remember, you need to spell them right too. So go with the words that you know. They're not going to be impressed by the size of your words as much as they are what the words are that you use that they actually mean. In other words, meaning is more important than dazzling them with big words. Redundancy syndrome, don't repeat yourself. Okay, so don't say 3 years of PE should be required. 3 years of PE should be required. Don't say it in every single paragraph. Say it once and go from there. This is a little bit easier now that it's computerized, but make sure your essay is neat, legible, and properly formatted. Make sure that you indent each paragraph, either hit tab or 5 spaces. Think again about these people that are reading your essays. Yes, they're getting paid for it, but they're still reading hundreds of them. And you want them to have an open mind and an open heart when they're reading yours. So don't make it a struggle for them to read the essay, in other words, okay? The reading section. Let me just tell you guys before we go on to the next slide. The reading section is something that you guys have done your whole life. All standardized testing in schools have reading comprehension sections. And tonight I'm going to go over a couple things that will make this section easier for you, to where this should be easiest of the 3 sections in my eyes, right? Because basically the reading section is just about knowing how to take a test to me. So the reading section has critical analysis and evaluation. What that means is they expect you to read something, decide what it says, and evaluate whether this is accurate or not. So some of the things you will be expected to do in this section include identify the author's tone, which is their attitude towards their subject, their attitude, their opinion, and their viewpoint, okay? Find the techniques the author uses to make their point. Identify the assumptions an author makes to support their claim. Find examples, details, or facts that support an author's claim. Make predictions based on the information in a passage. Choose statements that will strengthen or weaken the claims made by the author in the reading. Distinguish facts versus opinions in a passage. So a sample question would be, they give you a passage and then they ask you, with which of the following statements would the author most likely agree? And then they'll give you 4 statements, and you have to say which of these 4 most correlates or goes with what the author said in the passage. Avoid controversial answer choices. CBEST authors go to great lengths to avoid correct answers that would make anyone upset. Use common sense. Take a look at your answer choices and see what seems reasonable. A CBEST passage, which is no more than 200 words, will have to be narrow in focus or scope. Therefore, a dangerous answer choice on the CBEST is the one that tries to do too much or only answers part of the question. In other words, the answer choice that is out of scope. So when you have those 4 answers to choose from, one of them is absolutely, unequivocally, absolutely wrong. So you can get rid of that one right off the bat. Okay, and you'll see what I mean when I go over the reading comprehension questions for sure. Avoid strong language. Remember, these are not the absolute rule. Read the passage to try and confirm that the answer that you're picking is correct always. Most of the time, the answer will be verbatim, which means the exact words that were used in the passage, but try and always align it as closely as possible with what was said in the passage. So answers that say something must be true or use extreme language are often correct. Examples: always, only, all, never, impossible, every, and must. And answer choices containing these words are often correct, which is may, sometimes, might, some, and probably. So let's go ahead and try this. Read a sample reading passage, then answer the question that follows. So for this exercise, we're going to work together to read the passage, then talk it through to answer the question. My second most important piece of advice to you tonight is always read the questions that you have to answer before you read the passage, because our brains are wonderful organisms that when we read something, if we know we have to answer a question, our brain will stop there. It'll go, oh, that was the answer I needed. And I always tell this to my high school students because they want to get away with reading as little as possible. And most of us, when we're taking a test, we want to get the answers and answer the questions and move on. So always, always, always read the questions that you have to answer before you read the passage. If everybody would just read this passage silently to themselves, and that was a trick because remember, what are you supposed to do first? Read the question, right? So the question, which is the smallest print, this question is not only a CBEST question, but it's also an eye test. Which of the following best describes the author's attitude toward the proposed legislation put forth by Congressman Moore. Okay, so in your head, you should be saying best describes attitude, right? Where is this guy's attitude shown in this passage? Okay, so read it silently, and then we'll take it to a vote as to which answer it is in the chat. So you're going to be accountable for this answer. All right, read it. Let's see what happens. When you have decided A, B, C, D, or E, I want you to just blow up the chat box and put the letter of the word that you think best describes the author's attitude towards this legislation about the marriage tax. Is it A, B, C, D, or E? Tell me what you guys think. Okay, most of you are spot on. The answer is supportive. Very good, you guys. Very good. Obviously, you can play the game of process of elimination with this, right? Uncertain. No, he's not uncertain. There's nowhere in this passage where this guy is showing us that he doesn't have an opinion. He's supportive because he shows the sides of the issue. He definitely is expressing that he understands why people are unhappy. Opposed, he's not really blatantly opposed to this. He's not against it. He's not elated. It's not like he's, elated means like super happy about or having a strong emotion. He's not expressing that he's happy in here. And he's disdainful means that he's basically angry or kind of like disgruntled with the issue. And he's not that either. So I would definitely say B, supportive, would be the best answer. So most of you did well on that. Very nice. Some of the things you will be expected to do in this section include recognize the order of a passage, identify the main idea of a passage, summarize and paraphrase a reading passage, determine the meaning of underlined words and context, identify words and phrases that serve as transitions between ideas in a passage, and make an inference based on the information provided. So basically, sometimes they'll give you a passage and they'll say, what's the best conclusion for this? And then they'll give you a couple sentences to pick from. You're also going to be asked to have some research skills. They'll ask you like, what is this table about? How is this index organized? What does this pie chart show us? So you're going to locate the place in a book, article, chapter, etc., where a specific kind of info can be found. Identify how a written passage is organized, and find conclusions that are supported by the information presented in a table or graph. What I want to do, I think we're going to stop here because this is more getting into the essay portions and stuff. And I don't want to go over because I don't want you guys to go, well, I won't be there on Monday night. That chick never stopped talking. Okay, so Monday night, the 23rd, we're going to concentrate on those two essays, the argumentative and the personal essay. And then on Wednesday night, the 25th, we'll concentrate on the reading comprehension questions, what certain questions look like, and all of those good things. Next time, those of you that are really worried about the essay, I am actually going to have you write an essay in the session. We're going to do it paragraph by paragraph together. And then at the end, I'm going to have you email those to me. And then within 24 hours or so, I'm going to read all of them and then return them to you guys with some comments. And, some of you will get, oh my God, this is perfect. This would pass. And then some of you, I'll say things like use transitions or, maybe try and use some bigger words or whatever I think you need to pass. So next time will be really pivotal for those of you who definitely need help with the essays. Okay. But I want you to know, seriously, I'm not just here for this hour and a half tonight, Monday night, Wednesday night. If you want to reach out to me at any point before you take the test or after you take the test, this isn't just 4.5 hours, bam, we're done. I don't want to ever talk to you again. I'm here for you guys through this whole process, okay? So please take advantage of that and the fact that they picked me to do this because they obviously saw something in the way I approach students in writing. So I want to give you all of my knowledge that I have.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.